In Culpeper County, Virginia, between April and September of 1859, 23 people died. Broken necks, crushed windpipes, no sounds of struggle, no witnesses. The sheriff's office recorded each death as accident or natural causes, but what they never mentioned was that every victim had one thing in common. They had all lived within 3 miles of the root plantation. 3 weeks before the first death, something had emerged from a cellar that had been sealed for 12 years. Confederate Army documents declassified in 1963 contain a single line about Culpeper County in 1859. Local situation resolved, witnesses silenced. Recommend no further investigation. The story begins with Silas, a man born in 1823 on the plantation, a child who was different from the start. His skin held no pigment, appearing almost translucent in certain light. His hair was white as cotton. His eyes, pale gray, seemed to look through people rather than at them. Other enslaved people whispered that he was marked, though whether by God or something else, no one could say. Silas's mother, Ruth, died when he was 7, and from that moment, he grew up largely alone, avoided by those unsettled by his appearance. But Silas had a gift that made him valuable to Colonel Thaddeus Rutledge, an almost supernatural ability with horses. Violent stallions calmed under his pale hands. Mares that refused to breed accepted him. By 24, he had become the plantation's head groom, a position granting him small privileges, a private corner in the stables, and occasional trips to town to buy veterinary supplies. One March day in 1847, Silas made a mistake. He went to the apothecary to collect medicine and met a free black woman named Hannah, a seamstress with quick hands and intelligent eyes. Their conversation lasted barely 3 minutes, but it planted a seed of hope. She spoke of the North, of wages, of property ownership. Silas began to plan his escape. Careful, patient, methodical. He saved scraps of food, observed patrol patterns, memorized safe roads, and waited for the right night. On the 17th of May, 1847, he slipped into the night. Moonless, spring air thick with magnolia and rain. He moved 3 miles through the forest, along deer trails, hidden in dark clothes, carrying a small bundle of provisions. But dawn caught him. Hounds and riders found him. They dragged him back to the plantation, battered and torn, and threw him at Rutledge's feet. Silas didn't beg. He didn't speak. He only looked up with those gray eyes. Something passed between them, a mutual recognition of pure hatred. Rutledge said nothing. Instead, he ordered Silas to the root cellar beneath the kitchen house, locked the door, and forbade any entry without his permission. The cellar was a stone chamber, 12 feet long, 8 feet wide, 7 feet high at the center. Cold in summer, barely above freezing in winter, damp, smelling of earth and stone. A tiny ventilation grate gave just enough air to survive. The first week, Silas screamed, pounded his fists, bloody, called for mercy, water, light. But the only response was scraps of cornbread, chicken bones, or raw turnips, pushed through the door in a tin plate. A wooden bucket served as his toilet. Slowly, he understood. No one was coming. This was no temporary punishment. It was an abyss. Silas adapted. He created a routine to survive. He paced, counted steps, exercised, stretched, pushed his body in the darkness to stay alive. Days blurred into weeks, weeks into months. He stopped speaking after 3 months, replaying memories in his mind. Every horse he had trained, his mother's face, Hannah's voice. The isolation reshaped him, meditation became survival. He could exist for hours motionless, his breathing slow, his body alert, his senses sharpened. He learned the footsteps of everyone above, the deliberate tread of Rutland, the nervous scurry of Benjamin, the old cook's cracked knees. He memorized the rhythms of the plantation, the movements of day and night, the silence. His hands became instruments of perception, touch his guide. He studied the rats that entered the cellar, learning anatomy, strength, and fragility. Unconsciously, he absorbed knowledge that would one day make him lethal. Years passed. Silas stopped being entirely human in conventional terms. Not supernatural, but something shaped by 12 years of darkness and patience. He never forgot why he was there. He waited, silently, enduring, existing, reshaping himself for the day the door would open again. The years passed in silence above and below the earth. Seasons changed on the plantation, but the cellar remained unchanged. Cold and damp, crops were planted and harvested. Enslaved people were born, aged, and died. The political tensions between North and South escalated, whispers of war and abolitionist threats filling newspapers and speeches. In Culpeper County, life carried on, oblivious to the man imprisoned beneath the kitchen house. Only Rutland remembered Silas, and he never spoke of what lay below. The few who had witnessed the imprisonment were dead or gone, leaving Silas a secret no one could reveal. Then came April of 1859. Colonel Thaddeus Rutland suffered a stroke during breakfast. His right hand went limp, coffee cup crashing to the floor. His face sagged. He could barely speak. Dr. Isaac Vernon, newly established in town, arrived to examine him. Rutland would survive, but he was paralyzed on his right side, unable to communicate effectively. He lingered for 3 weeks, struggling with simple gestures that servants could not interpret. He died on the 23rd of April. Benjamin, the house servant, witnessed Rutland's final moments. The colonel's eyes were wide, staring at the ceiling, left hand moving, as if unlocking an invisible door. The funeral followed 2 days later. With Rutland gone, the plantation fell into disarray. The estate would likely be sold. Enslaved people were anxious, awaiting their fates, likely to be sold south. In the chaos, the routine of feeding the cellar broke down. For 3 days, Silas received nothing. On the 4th day, he noticed the strange silence above too many footsteps, then almost none. The remaining enslaved people were being assessed by a slave trader in town. Only a skeleton crew remained. Pewitt, 2 field hands, and an elderly cook. On the evening of April 28th, Thomas, a young field hand unfamiliar with the cellar, was tasked with checking supplies in the kitchen house. He discovered the padlocked door, rusted and loose. Impulsively, he opened it and descended the stone steps. The air smelled old, organic, trapped. In the corner, he saw a figure thin, pale, white hair hanging to the shoulders, eyes closed, breathing shallow. At first, he thought the figure was dead. Then the eyes opened colorless, pale gray, and piercing. Thomas whispered, "May God, how long have you been down here?" The figure did not respond, did not move. Yet Thomas felt the presence of something transformed by 12 years of darkness. Terror overtook him. He ran. When Thomas returned with Pewitt, they found the cellar empty. The tin plate and bucket remained. Silence answered them. Silas had left the cellar the moment Thomas had fled. He moved through the moonlit woods, pale and nearly invisible, carrying 12 years of planning and patience. He had a list, written in his mind, of everyone who had imprisoned or wronged him. The first death occurred on May 2nd, 1859. Virgil Puit was found in the barn at dawn. Neck broken, no signs of struggle, horses calm, shotgun leaning nearby, fully loaded. Whoever killed Puit had approached silently, struck efficiently, and vanished without trace. Sheriff Walter Cunningham investigated. 15 men combed the surrounding woods. No tracks, no campsites, no signs of anyone hiding. After 2 days, the search was called off. Puit was buried. The plantation was locked, awaiting sale. The remaining workers were sent to town for auction. Life continued its rhythm. Then, on May 17th, 12 years to the day after Silas's imprisonment, John Cellar, 52, a widower and minor player in local slave patrols, was found dead in his tobacco field. Neck broken, signs of a struggle evident, hands bruised and shirt torn. Even with his sons in the house, asleep, he was taken silently, efficiently. Cunningham noticed the pattern. The killings were targeted. Each victim had a connection to the root plantation, to slave patrols, or to the capture of runaways. Someone was executing a methodical plan, moving unseen through Culpeper County like a ghost. Panic spread. Families gathered together. Men slept with guns at their sides. Patrols searched, but the killer struck without warning. By July, 19 people were dead. Newspapers reported, and Richmond sent Captain Edward Hayes, experienced in tracking guerrillas from the conflicts in Bleeding, Kansas. Hayes investigated, interviewed witnesses, and concluded the killings were disciplined, planned, and precise an execution list. Each death built momentum. The question, what would happen when the list was completed? Hayes attempted a psychological strategy, asking everyone with ties to the root plantation to report for protection. 47 people came forward, terrified. Guards and housing were arranged to keep them safe. 5 nights passed with no incident. Then, on July 23rd, a guard at the Methodist Church was found dead in his post. Neck broken, seated, appearing asleep. The killer had entered, struck silently, and vanished. On the wall, a list. 19 names crossed out, 28 remaining. At the top, underlined, was Benjamin Rutledge. He had traveled to Culpeper County from Richmond, staying at the Chapman Hotel. Hayes and Cunningham raced to the hotel. Benjamin Rutledge was found dead, neck broken, hanging by skin alone. Handprints on the windowsill marked the escape route. The killer was capable of impossible feats, entering guarded buildings, climbing walls, killing silently. Panic consumed the county. Families fled. Businesses closed. Security measures proved futile. Hayes realized the magnitude of the threat. The killer wasn't just elusive. He was patient, disciplined, nearly impossible to anticipate. Thomas, the field hand who had opened the cellar, observed that Silas's greatest strength was his patience. He could sit motionless, invisible in plain sight, waiting for the perfect moment. Hayes adapted the search. Teams moved slowly, methodically, checking every shadow, crawl space, and corner. Hours passed. 3 hours after midnight, they found him in the abandoned grist mill on the town's edge. 20 feet above the floor, in the rafters, pale skin and white hair blending with the beams, Silas sat perfectly still, watching. Not hiding. Waiting. Hayes called down, "Silas, come down. We need to talk." For a long moment, nothing. Then, with fluid precision, Silas dropped from the rafter, landing in a crouch without injury. In the lantern light, He resembled something carved from white stone. His thin frame moved with controlled grace. Hair past his shoulders, colorless eyes reflecting light without absorbing it. Filthy, torn clothes, yet his presence was absolute. Hayes approached cautiously, hands raised. "I know what happened to you," he said. 12 years in darkness. No one should endure that." Silas remained silent, a statue of patience and calculation. "You've killed 20 people," Hayes continued. "The law still applies. You understand that, don't you?" Silas's head tilted slightly, the first movement he had made. A hoarse whisper, rusty from disuse, carried one word: law. He spoke with contempt, sharp as broken glass. "There was no law when they locked me away. No law when they fed me scraps like a dog. No law when they left me to die." "You speak of law now?" Hayes had no answer. He realized the truth. The system had failed completely. Silas stepped toward the wall, moving with precise intent. His hand pressed against a section of stone, revealing a 3-foot square opening. Darkness beyond. "This is where it began," he said quietly. "A tunnel built as part of the Underground Railroad, connecting the cellar to another root cellar in the woods half a mile away. Silas had discovered it after years of searching in darkness, 1 inch at a time. He could have left at any moment, but he waited until Rutledge was dead, until everyone responsible understood fear and inevitability. He stepped into the opening and disappeared, fading into the shadows of the tunnel. Hayes could have pursued, raised his pistol, called men to follow, but the certainty in Silas's eyes made resistance futile. 12 years of darkness had forged him beyond normal limits. He had adapted, transformed, become something existing between human and shadow. Hayes lowered his gun. Silas nodded once, a gesture of respect, acknowledgement, or farewell, and vanished completely. The official report, filed on September 3, 1859, stated that Silas had been tracked to the abandoned plantation and had taken his own life in the cellar. His body was burned according to health regulations, ashes scattered, case closed. Culpeper County was left to rebuild. Families mourned, slowly re-establishing a fragile sense of security. But rumors persisted. Some claimed to see a pale figure moving silently through the woods, heading north, aiding the Underground Railroad. Speaking of nothing from the past, Benjamin, the former house servant, remembered one night years later, waking to find someone sitting at the foot of his bed, a pale figure with white hair and colorless eyes, even when others forgot. "You remembered?" the figure whispered. "Thank you." The root plantation remained abandoned for decades. The cellar door, once unlocked, remained a symbol of fear and mystery. In 1923, when developers broke the floor to fill the cellar, they discovered the bones of 7 rats arranged in a circle, the word "remember" scratched in stone. Disturbed, they filled the cellar with concrete. Today, a shopping center stands where the plantation once did. Few realize the darkness beneath. Silas's story has faded into legend, a tale told to frighten children. Yet some families in Culpeper County still lock their doors, still check the shadows before sleep, recalling the pale man who spent 12 years in darkness and emerged as something between human and myth. On certain nights, when the moon is dark and the air still, people swear they feel someone watching, not threatening, not violent, merely patient, waiting as stone. The official records claim Silas died in 1859, but records can be wrong.